Hello. This last week has been actually rather frustrating for me. I was going to be singing a song from home. I was going to do a live at the piano track, maybe preview my new single. But as you could possibly tell from the sound of my rasping voice, I've had a cold. And it's really made me think how my voice, or the voice, is front and center of my whole creative process. So I want to dedicate the next few minutes just to talking to you, if I can get a voice out, about the importance of the voice. So, yeah, okay, look, first of all, let's do the housekeeping first. I've got a cold. I suspect it's not that serious. It's been running for a few days, which is just a bit of a pain. It's not COVID because I've had a test. So, just doing all the declarations up front, it's just a bit of a nuisance. But the point is, I love singing. And if you have been following, my adventures, my journey so far across the months and years, from even a time before I was doing these video casts, you probably would have spotted on my songs that there's quite a lot going on vocally, always. I mean, there's harmonies, there's normally several tracks of leads, several tracks of harmonies. I mean, it can all get really quite complex. But at the heart of it is the fact that I love vocals, and I'm not just talking about my own vocals, although I sometimes love those. I'm talking about the sound of layered voices, male or female or both, in a great track. Is just astounding. I mean, I love it every time. I love the sound of a harmony, a good, clever harmony, and so I've tried to emulate that, I think, quite a lot in the songs that I do, in the way that I put them across. Lots and lots of vocals, and I've learned a few things about I guess, how to get the best out of my own vocals. And I know that my own vocals have good days and bad days. If I'm being really frank with you about, my own singing capability, and why not? Let's be frank. There are days when I think, I can, today's a day when it's really clear. I can reach those notes. I can be, expressive. It's all sounding rather lovely. There are other days when, frankly, it would be better if I didn't even open my mouth. It just wouldn't be. It's not worth trying. And these last few days have been those days where there's no point trying to do a song. And actually, I've noticed that it even stops me from starting a new song. Getting into that creative process, because writing a song requires, to some extent, that I can, freely and naturally, without coughing and spluttering all over my laptop, sing along with what I'm writing. Sometimes, the singing sometimes comes first, and then I'm just catching up with it. So anyway, it's a nuisance, and it cuts short the creative process in whatever way, because for me, the voice is everything. And when I think about celebrating great voices, and we can do this on a separate video cast, a whole different subject here about great voices we know. When I celebrate great voices of the last 50, 60 years of popular music, I'm not just talking about the obvious beautiful voices. I'm not just talking about Aretha Franklin and Marvin Gaye or Scott Walker, or even somebody like, Amy Winehouse, or even Morton from Aha. Those kind of glorious voices. Those are lovely voices. But I would equally want to celebrate Lou Reed, or some of those kind of difficult voices, the drawly voices. Leonard Cohen, Bob Dylan. Those people couldn't sing beautifully in the kind of classic sense, but boy, could they convey something. They knew how to tell a story, and that's just as good, and their voice is just as potent as Anita Baker, for example. All of whom I love. So, what's with my own voice? What I've learned over the last few years is that my voice is an instrument that I have to look after quite carefully, and I don't always. And in fact, I had to learn to look after it quite carefully because I certainly didn't. So I'll give you an example. I really love football. I haven't talked about football on this because this is not a video cast series about football. So we're going to just park the actual football bit of it. But I love going to matches. I go quite regularly. And when I just started doing all these recordings from home, I would quite often go to a football match. Unwittingly, unknowingly almost, I would find at some point in that match I'd be shouting my head off, just like everybody else. Not rude, no bad words, just shouting very loudly in a stadium full of other people shouting very loudly. And then I would wonder why, when I got home, I couldn't sing anything. I couldn't get any of my higher notes. I couldn't get quite a lot of the lower notes either. I would be without a voice really for about 2 or 3 days, maybe 2 or 3 days a week, because I was going so regularly. So half the time that I wanted to be recording, making music, I was hoarse because I had at some point recently been to a football match. Now, what I did is realise that this was going on. It wasn't too difficult to put two and two together and think that's a bit of a problem. Needs to sort that. So I've got quite good at now celebrating goals and good things that happen at football matches in a kind of silent way. I actually try not to open my mouth and shout and scream. So if you ever go to a football match and you see somebody, carrying on in silence as if they're making a lot of noise, that's probably me. So that was something I really had to curb. And, alongside that, I realised that, my voice needed a bit of care and attention from time to time. So, when I'm recording, I'm more likely to be in this little room here with a mug of, ginger and lemon and honey and something like that. Now, I've actually got a teeny bit of whiskey this time, but it's all good for the voice and helps helps clear your throat, helps your nasal passages, all really good stuff. But the other thing I noticed is the way that the voice warms up and then gets tired. There's a middle point somewhere, particularly for, I guess, not a classically trained voice like mine, where if I'm going to record a vocal, I know that I can't just come in here, put the microphone on, and just record it. And there are several things going on there. Sometimes I'm actually still learning the song. I had to go through it a few times, or many times, to work out how the phrasing works, to work out exactly where the melody goes at this stage. It's quite an exciting thing to do that. You know that you're still getting to know the thing that you've written maybe 20 minutes earlier. But you need to get something down. As I've said many times before, something has to go down, otherwise you're going to forget it. And the sooner something goes down, the more, the closer you are to the idea that you very first had, and it's worth trying to hold on to that. You can't just come in here, close the door, and get recording, because your voice is often going to be, my voice certainly, is going to be kind of cold and not ready yet to give its best performance. And what I'm looking for is what are the things I need to do to give the best performance every time I can do that. I mean, I can't change my voice, but I can try and deliver it at the best it can be. And what I found is, in terms of limbering up and warming up, I do need to do a bit of that. I need to spend a little bit of time, usually running through the song that I'm about to record without the record button on, just running through it, just hearing it and singing it maybe with no expression at all, just getting everything in the right place before I start to think, how do I want to convey this song, this story, this person's account of things. Because quite often in my songs I'm putting myself in the head of somebody else. And what I've noticed is this: when I put the record button on, I will normally do 3 takes. And the first take is, however long I've been warming up and running through that track without the record button on, the first time I put the record button on, I might think, oh, this is going quite well, but the second take and probably the third take are nearly always better. So whatever the first take's like, you don't stop there. And there's a way on my digital audio workstation with Logic. I'm sure this is represented on all the main DAWs. There's a way of just keeping the record button down and it just goes round and round and round it, and it captures your next iteration, your next one, and just lines them up. And then you can go through and compare the quality of the vocals you've done each time. Now, I tend to do 3 takes, as I say. The first one is never the one that I use, or almost never. I mean, really, 95% of the time, the first one is there just to be the first one, it seems. And then the second one might have some good things on it, and the chances are the most of what I will use ending up on the track will be in that third take. Now, the question is, if each take is getting better, why not do a fourth take and a fifth take, and maybe by the 20th take, it's going to be so blooming good that you won't, you'll have forgotten takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. But it doesn't work like that. It's really interesting. After about 3 takes, my voice, and this will be different for different voices, and yours might be different, but my voice will get a bit tired. And so by the 4th take, it's quite possible that I've already peaked and I'm beginning to come down the other side. And a 5th take, there's no point. So this is there's a kind of there's a mathematical equation almost here which says do 3, don't do 4, don't do 2. And that will normally see you right, and it has seen me right. I mean, in fact, when I've been recording recently with other people, it's been right for them as well. And it's an interesting kind of fact for me, which is do 3 takes. You won't necessarily take all of that third version, but you probably take most of it, and you probably won't take any of the first one you did. So that's interesting. I also know that for whatever reason, and I'm sure again there's a physical rationale for this, I'm absolutely certain, but I can't sing that well in the morning. This is all about warming up, isn't it? But I can't sing that well in the morning. By the evening, my voice is going to reach a peak somewhere in the middle of the evening. It's a bit like, it's the same point almost about which take you're going to take. If I sing in the afternoon, it's better than the morning, but it's probably not as good as in the evening. If I sing in the evening, that's brilliant. If I sing after midnight and it's getting really late, probably my voice is getting tired, and that's not so good. And so all of that you've got to be aware of. And I know at the moment I sing so much that my voice is probably a little better honed than it was, say, 5 years ago, because singing is like a muscle, isn't it? And the more you exercise it, I think the better it gets. The more reliable it is. The more you know your way round how to get the best out of it, etc. So, for those of you interested in singing, I think my message is take the vocals really seriously. And I guess all I want to do is without getting into any of the technicalities of how I might produce my best vocal, etc., etc. We could do that on another occasion. Really, I just want to say, when I have a cold, I absolutely realise that I can't take for granted the thing that is central to all of my pop music and my songwriting, which is the voice. And it's not just about me and my voice, anyone's voice. I always think that a pop song is carried on the strength, on the appeal of that voice, and it is everything. It's the first thing you hear. And I know that at the moment there is quite a trend towards having very loud vocals right at the front, right at the centre, sometimes very dry, bursting out of your speaker. I like that. I think when that's done well, it's incredibly powerful, incredibly effective. You go back to some older recordings from previous decades, and sometimes, and this is definitely much a fashion thing. Sometimes you'll be surprised how far back in the mix that lead vocal is. Not anymore in the 21st century, particularly in the last few years. And I don't know whether people like Billie Eilish and some of those kind of mumbly singers have done more to bring those vocals right to the front. But I think it's good. Listen to somebody like Dua Lipa, or I'm trying to think, Lorde, or I've been listening to Lil Nas. The vocals are in your face, and I do really like that. So when we sometimes talk about the need for a story to be well told, and it's exactly the same in music. There is a need to have a song that is well sung, and as I say, it doesn't have to be beautiful classical, classic, opera voice. It's just having the phrasing, the tone to deliver that song, that story, in the best way that it possibly can be delivered. So look, I'm going to leave it there. I'm just going to remind myself not to go to any football matches I'm going to be shouting my head off at. I think probably a good night's sleep will help. I shall finish my whiskey and honey and ginger, and hopefully next time I see you, it will be with a lovely at-home version of a new song which is coming out in November, as I said, I think last time round. It's called To The Limit, and you will hear it first in its acoustic version, hopefully next week. So listen, you take care, I will too, and we'll fight this together. Have a great weekend. See you soon. Bye-bye.